Hey everyone, today's lesson is on 2.4 and it's multiplying rational numbers. Today's lesson is going to just focus on multiplying decimals, and your next lesson will be on multiplying fractions. So let's get started. There's a few steps for multiplying decimals that I'm going to want you to write down in your notes. You can write them down after. The first one is to line up your numbers vertically and right aligned. The decimals do not need to be lined up. So we're going to have everything lined up to the right side of where we're multiplying, and we don't need to have our decimals lined up like when we are adding or subtracting. We're going to worry about the decimals all the way at the end. The second step is to just multiply. Normally, we're going to ignore the decimal points at this point. So we're just going to multiply like we normally would if there was no decimals in our problem. After we multiply like normally and add them all together at the end, we're going to then count all of the decimal place values we have in our original problem, so at the beginning of our problem. And then with that number, we're going to then move the decimal point in our answer to the left, the number of place values that we counted for in step 3. So this will make more sense when we do our 2 examples in class, but please pause the video here, write these into your notebook, and then we will move on. Oh, don't forget that we need to follow our multiplication rules also whenever we're doing multiplying. So if we have a positive times a positive, our answer is going to be positive. If we have a negative number times a negative number, our answer is going to be positive. If we have a positive times a negative, our answer is going to be negative. And if we have a negative times a positive, our answer will also be negative. So these rules still apply even though we're multiplying decimals. They also will still apply when we're multiplying fractions later. If you need to write these down, please pause the video here and write these down again just so you don't forget. And then we'll move on. So here's our first example. We have negative 1.5 times negative 7.1. So here I wrote my problem vertically, and my numbers are aligned on the right side, so they're lined up on the right side. In this problem, my decimal points do line up, but that's just because they're both in the tens place value. So what I need to do here is I need to multiply like normal. So I'm going to multiply 1 times 5, which is going to give me 5, and then 1 times 1, which is going to give me a 1. Then I'm going to move over to the next one, so I'm no longer using this place value, so that means I can add a 0 down below, and then I'm going to start with the 7. So 7 times 5 gives me 35, so my 5 goes down here, and my 3 goes up on top. And then I have 7 times 1, which is 7, plus 3, which gives me 10. So now that I've done all my multiplying, the next thing I have to do is add them together. So I have 5 plus 0, which is 5. 1 plus 5, which is 6. 0 plus nothing is 0. And 1 plus nothing is 1. But I'm not done yet. I still have to figure out where my decimal point's going to go. So how many place values do I have? I have 1 place value right here, a tenths place, and I have 1 place value right here, which is another tenths place. So I have 2 place values. And what that means is I need to move my decimal point over 2 places from the left. So I'm going to start here. I'm going to move my decimal point over 2 spots. So my decimal point is going to go right after the 0. So my final answer is 10.65. And my answer is going to be positive because I have a negative times a negative, and that equals a positive number. So please pause the video here. Write this example down into your notes. And we will move on. The next problem is going to be a little bit longer. So my next problem is negative 5.928 times negative 11.6. So my first step that I wrote down was I had to write my problems and align them to the right in vertical. So I have all of my numbers lined up on the right side. And if you notice here, my decimal points do not match up. And that is okay when we're multiplying. So now what I need to do is I need to just multiply like I normally would. So the first one I have is I have the 6 here times 8, which gives me 48. So the 8 goes on the bottom, and the 4 goes up top. Then I have 6 times 2, which is 12. Then I have to add 4 to that, and I get 16. So the 6 goes down on the bottom. The 1 goes up on top. Then I have 6 times 9, which is 54, plus 1, which is 55. So the 5 goes here, and the 50 goes up top. And then I have 6 times 5, which is 30, plus 5, which is 35. So now I'm done with the 6, and I'm going to move on to the next, to the 1 here. So I add my 0, and then I'm going to start with the 1. So this is easier because it's just multiplying by 1. So 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 9 is 9. And 1 times 5 is 5. I finished all of that 1. So I can cross off that 1. And I have 2 numbers crossed off here. So I'm going to have 2 zeros down below. And I'm going to finish off this last 1 here. So again, 1 times 8 is 8. 1 times 2, 2. 1 times 9 equals 9. And 1 times 5 equals 5. So now I have all of my numbers multiplied. And I have to move on to my next step. And I have to add them all together. So for this one, I have 8 plus 0 plus 0, which gives me 8. 6 plus 8 gives me 14. So I bring the 4 down here and carry the 1 up here. Then I have 1 plus 5 plus 2 plus 8. And 1 plus 5 is 6, plus 2 is 8, and 8 plus 8 is 16. So the 6 goes down, the 1 goes up here. And then I have 1 plus 5 plus 9 plus 2. 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 2 is 17. So the 7 goes down here. I carry the 1 up here. And then I have 1 plus 3 plus 5 plus 9. Again, 1 plus 9 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus 3 is 18. So the 8 goes down here, and I carry the 1 up here. And then I have 1 plus 5, which gives me 6. So I'm not done yet. I still need to figure out where my decimal point goes. And this one I have a lot more place values in it. So I need to count how many place values I have. So here I have a tenths place, a hundredths place, and my thousandths place. So that's 3 place values there. And on this one I have just a tenths place, so that's 1 place value there. And if I add those together, I get 4 place values. So now I need to take my decimal point and move it 4 places to the left. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, which means my decimal point is going to go between the 8 and the 7. So my final answer is 68.7648. So please write this down in your notes. You can pause the video here and copy this in your notes. Now for your assignment today, you're going to have 6 problems. They are going to be on Schoology, and what I want you to do is write them on a separate sheet of paper, and then you can take a picture of that piece of paper and then send it to me or submit it on Schoology so I can grade it. So when you are writing down the problems that are here, again, you need to follow the steps that we went over. So you need to make sure you write them vertically. You need to make sure that you're multiplying and adding and moving the decimal points at the end. When I'm looking at your work, I'm looking to see that you did all of this work to solve the problem. I don't want you just plugging it in a calculator and writing an answer down and circling it. I want to see this work that you're doing. So at the end, if you want to check it with a calculator, that is fine. But I still want to see the steps that you were taught today on how to solve these problems in your work and your answer. So good luck with your assignment, and I will see you soon.